Hello, we are trying something new today. We are trying a discography dive in.
Something new and green day.
New and green.
Ha ha.
Got him.
On the legendary California punk band, probably the most well-known punk band in the world, Green Day.
Currently.
Well,
There will be a resurgence of both ska and punk in the year 2021 and 2022.
Could be done with them.
if we get there.
How many years has it been for
Ska
Green
will
Day?
be forever.
How many years has Green Day been a thing? They were playing local shows since 1988.
88. How many years is
30.
that?
32.
32, yeah.
So they're not making it 33, we're saying. It's over.
It's over. Listen, at this rate.
We'll get to why before this is over. Okay.
I'll say this. They used to. Here's a little backstory on just Green Day and the first albums, Kerplunk, and the weird slappy smooth
39. Slappy.
I don't know.
This is Ray's musical review with Ray, Jared, and KP.
Yes, we're here.
Basically, they played in local shows under the name of Sweet Children. They got picked up by Lookout Records, which is a legendary underground punk record company.
Right.
And guys like Operation Ivy. They signed Rancid later on, or should I rather phrase Rancid is Operation Ivy, so that's kind of like how that works. But anyways, basically, Kerplunk is technically we're moving on to Kerplunk.
The first album from Green Day.
The first album from Green Day. This is where we're going to get the questions in. Basically, how this is going to work is Dad is going to ask us for negatives and positives.
Okay.
For negatives and positives, favorite and least favorite tracks, and
Kerplunk. Negative and positive from Kerplunk. Jared.
Well, first, we are skipping over 39 Smooth Out Slappy Hours, or whatever the name of the thing is. It's like Ray said, it was a collection of like
EPs, yeah.
EPs from like their
Basically
early days.
from their early days.
It's kind of weird to like put it in a ranking of their like albums.
But I guess we kind of have to.
I wasn't very impressed with
technically.
it. It's pretty bland as far as pop punk, like early pop punk goes. It's like I get where people would see that and be like, oh hey, those guys could have some talent, but
not right now.
They hadn't got it yet.
When I listened to it, I was blown away by how just there's no metaphor, straightforward lyrics. There's just what you see is exactly what you get. Just a couple verses, just plain text.
Right.
Yeah. Favorite and least favorite tracks. I'd probably go At the Library.
Are we talking about
on
Kerplunk
39
now,
Smooth? On
Okay.
Smooth.
Right.
I'd probably go At the Library. Maybe the Green Day track, just because it's a little surreal that
Yeah, it's like the self-titled track. You know what I mean? I think I Was There would probably be the one standout song for me off that album.
I enjoyed Paper Lanterns, but that's kind of the one I kind of really remember that one because that's the one he got a bunch of mud thrown at him.
All right, you want to run?
I won't be a mud hippie.
Oh, that's the
that's what he did.
Famous Woodstock.
Woodstock '94.
Yeah, they just started throwing like
mud at him, and it was crazy. But
Okay,
Kerplunk. Here's a little
backstory on it.
A little. This actually surprisingly sold 50,000 copies.
That's very impressive.
Like surprisingly, actually by 2013, it had gotten platinum by 2013. But Green Day had kind of gotten.
Oh yeah, they were a big deal.
They were a big deal by 2013. And also this is where their now drummer Trey Cool joined in on Kerplunk. And Dad,
what was your favorite track off of this?
Favorite track off Kerplunk? Quite like 2,000 Light Years Away.
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
Was there Was there a low point on this for you guys?
Dominated Love Slave.
Yeah. I'll straight up also agree with that.
Yeah, it's like
great.
every time Trey Cool gets it, that's like Trey Cool got 2 tracks, and it's Dominated Love Slave and All By Myself.
You guys like Welcome to Paradise?
I think it was better on Dookie.
It was better on Dookie, yeah.
There you go.
Okay. And negatives and positives?
We already covered that.
No, we didn't.
Well, that was the favorite.
That was 39 Smooth.
So, negatives.
it sounds like it was produced on a GameCube.
Yes. One thing I definitely noticed was that some of the earlier albums sounded kind of rough.
Which for some bands that works, like Dead Kennedys or Sex Pistols, but not for Green Day's sound.
Not really, no. And some of the later stuff sounds too smooth, so
Yeah.
it's all about finding that balance.
Sweet spot.
Sweet spot.
Sweet spot. Positives. I like the ferociousness of this album.
I like the energy was good. The energy was good.
That's the key to mall punk, guys.
Energy.
Energy drinks.
Energy drinks, skateboards.
You ever seen the movie Backbeat?
I have not.
It's a Beatles story, and they're in a bar when they're like the club band in a bar, and this guy introduces them to uppers, and everything changes.
Yes.
They got a backbeat.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Dookie.
Oof, this one. There was a lot of stuff riding on this one. It was either a make or break. Basically, they got signed to a not even like a really big record company, but they got signed to a major
record debut.
record debut, and you can imagine how punk fans were at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely livid
Just
because they weren't punk anymore.
How could you sell out?
And Green Day was like one of the first examples of that in punk, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, like it's crazy how
it's the never-ending story of I was on that when you're at a concert and the guy next to you goes, I was watching them in bars, and you're like, okay, well, cool.
That's
We're in
cool.
a stadium now.
Those guys are making just like
Right.
six figures.
It's the argument.
you want to make money.
Are
Are you telling me you want to make money?
What's the problem with
Sell out.
What's the problem with a garage band? Is that the only people listening are in the garage, right?
Yeah.
But
Like,
if
of
you
course
have a message you would like it to get out and to make your sound more palatable, can alienate some people.
Also, it did not help that they were trying to build up the legit punk reputation for 6 years.
Yeah.
Did not help.
Okay.
But basically, you can tell that this album made during Make or Break. It made Rolling Stone magazine named it the best album of 1994, beating out the Blue Album, Jeff Buckley's Grace, and Super Unknown, which I don't think it's better than any of those albums. But
I wouldn't.
But that still tells you what level it was.
Yeah.
This record
But that
creates
means both the magazine and the fans rated it there.
Right.
That's fair.
This record creates its own genre.
Also,
You know what I mean?
at the
That's a
Rock and
pretty
Roll
big
Hall
deal.
of Fame, it was placed number 50 at the definitive Rock 200 list, right in between Sticky Fingers and Houses of the Holy. This album was so successful, it defined a genre.
I mean, yeah, that's true. It's true.
It ain't number 50 though.
It isn't.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame don't know what they're talking about. But we'll go ahead.
But especially above Houses of the
I
Holy.
don't know which direction you're implying it should be in, better or worse.
Oh, it ain't number
Oh,
50.
you didn't ask
No.
us.
It
You
didn't
didn't,
get that
number 50.
far. No.
no,
didn't
you
get
didn't
that
ask
far.
us. We actually forgot. Sorry, we forgot to rate the Kerplunk and Smooth out of 10. So what would you rate 39 Smooth out of 10?
Like 4 out of 10.
Yeah,
It's competent, but it's not. There's nothing stand out about it, really.
I would rate Kerplunk a nice 7.
I'd probably put it at 6. It's better. It's getting there, but it's not always on point.
I will defer to your knowledges.
That's fair.
Basically, I was just going to agree with you. I thought that was a cool way to say it.
Okay. Dookie. Negatives and positives.
Positives, the songwriting is way, way better than the previous 2 albums.
Positives. The songwriting is so good. The bass work, dude. The bass work.
It does just sound better, too.
Every bass line is so iconic and good, and the drums, dude, burn out. All you need to do,
It's the sound of the album is the sound of a band figuring out who they are as their lead singer, and the songwriter is figuring out his voice, and it all comes together at one moment in time.
dude,
and that is
and not to mention that the guitar state keeps it simple, so
that is
everything
Dookie
else.
sounds so weird. Right? You can't say that in a cool way, right?
I've heard the word dookie so many times, like thinking about this album, it's kind of like lost its weird luster to me. It's
Right.
just like it's just a word.
Right,
But it's so weird.
Yeah,
Dookie.
yeah.
But the guitar work is simple, so everything else can shine. I think everything here works incredibly well.
Right.
Going to negatives.
This is one of their better albums. Like one of their best albums, I should say, in my opinion. So I don't really have strong negatives about it.
I don't either. I don't
It
have a
blends
negative.
together. Some songs do. That's less of a problem on this album, though.
Right. What's your favorite track?
Favorites.
Basket Case. I'm going with the simple answer. It's a
I'll
good song.
I'll give you 3.
Basket
Basket
Case,
Case, When I Come Around.
In the end,
I quite liked Pulling Teeth.
that's fair.
Quite liked Pulling Teeth because it was different.
You know, I really love She.
That's a good one.
I really like this song. I don't know. It gets me. It does. It could be that Burnout, Longview, these are Welcome to
Burnout was
Paradise.
such
These
a
are
good
songs
opener,
that you
too.
hear a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And She isn't a song that you hear as much. So that could be just why it's a little not new, but it's. I just like it. I like it a lot.
All right,
Okay,
what would we rate it out of 10?
I go 8.
8, yeah. 8's a solid number.
I'll give it a 9.
They're really good. It's really good. Moving on.
Insomniac.
Moving on, Insomniac. There isn't much of a backstory to this. Basically, they just wanted to keep it Insomniac. They're angry at people who called them sellouts. They didn't want to mess with the formula just yet. Let's go with negatives and positives.
Positives. I like the way this album sounds because it is generally more intense.
It
I might
is
say
intense.
From Dookie. I don't think the songwriting is as good, but just like listening to it, I would always find myself kind of bobbing my head to this album
Yes.
more than Dookie.
And let's go into negatives. I have a negative. Of course, the songwriting, the bass work isn't as good, but I think it sounds a little too much like Dookie for me to really get a full feel for it. And I just, that's just my main gripe.
Standout track.
Standout track, definitely Brain Stew.
Brain Stew. I liked No Pride, honestly.
I liked 86.
86 was also quite good.
I liked the opener too.
Anything you didn't like? Any song you didn't like?
Any song I didn't like?
Um,
Maybe Babs You Feel Who, I guess.
maybe. Most of I like most of this album. Walking Contradiction, I do want to point out, is a song I also liked.
Oh, it's so angry.
It's so I
That
don't
one
know.
especially is so angry.
I just like the vibe of this album quite a bit.
Yeah. Moving on to Nimrod.
Oh wait, no, 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. I'll give this one. Yeah, I'll give it a 7.
6.
6. Fair.
I'll give Nimrod.
Nimrod, this album's interesting. This album's different. It's got a lot of different like influences. Like there's a couple songs that are like ska basically, which I like.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a great direction.
that's why people freaking hated it.
Listen, dude, you can't
It's-
talk trash about ska.
It's aged
But
fairly
that's
well, though.
it's aged.
It's aged very well.
Yeah.
It's aged very well. Positives. I like how it manipulates the punk formula. I like pretty much every song on here. Let's go into the negatives. My main gripe with this album is that it doesn't finish with Time of Your Life, and I know that sounds like a nitpick, but like
That's a song to end an
that's a
album
song
on.
you end an album on, and it's like I get they thought it was cliche, and I get that, but like
Dude, again, cliches, like there's a reason tropes and cliches exist is because they work.
Correct.
I mean, I just see people complain about them in all kinds of media. It's like, dude, you can just do it.
Right.
No one's gonna think less of you if it works well.
Yeah.
Also,
Some
there's
things
another
are time.
thing. Speaking of Time of Your Life, people really disliked Time of Your Life. They still dislike Time of Your Life, mostly because it got played every 20 minutes, and it probably still gets played, and it
I've heard
It's
that.
played.
I've heard that song thousands of times.
and
at
it
this
gets
point.
played like every hour.
It's good though.
No.
I love that song.
Right.
Yeah, like a
It's
crazy
funny.
part about that song though, they did an acoustic track, and well, They basically did it acoustic without the orchestral stuff.
Yeah.
And the producer said, "Hold on, I have an idea," and 15 minutes later, all the orchestra stuff was in there, and it's just that's how it is.
Absolutely.
I also like the mess up at the beginning of Time of Your Life. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun.
yeah.
Did we say our favorite tracks?
Favorite tracks? I quite liked King for a Day.
I liked Hitchin' a Ride.
Oh, Hitchin' a Ride.
That was the song, I think, addressing his alcoholism.
Hitchin' a Ride.
That was that one, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Hitchin' a Ride. I was just about to mention Hitchin' a Ride. That might be like top 5 favorite Green Day songs, period, for me.
Absolutely. It's really good. Just like an issue I
King-
have with some of these things is that these songs are all really short, so sometimes I kind of have a hard time.
Quite like redundant.
Yes, valid point.
I-
but
I-
sometimes they just kind of blend together because it's like, oh, those 2 different songs. You know what
I
mean?
even I even like the instrumental track.
Oh shoot, which one was that? Jinx.
I don't quite remember, but that's why I called it the instrumental track, Jared. So
That's
it would.
fair.
um,
I know which one you're.
Well, you're talking about a lot of records.
Yeah.
a lot of.
Moving on
Where do we rank it?
to what I'll rank it a 9 as well.
This is tough. 'Cause
Just-
there's parts of it I think that work way better than other parts. But if I had to say on the whole, 7. Like a higher 7.
Like almost 8.
Like 7.5.
Like a 7 is basically an 8, and an 8 is basically a 9. So that and a
It's
9
basically
is
10
kind
is
of a
what
10.
That's exactly what I'm
You know.
7.
Kev, you
Warning.
Warning. Here's a little backstory to Warning. They decided to keep getting experimental because that was a good idea, especially after everyone got mad that their last album was experimental. So, basically, they got in a new producer by the name of Scott Litt. He's worked on various underground indie bands like, indie albums like, REM's Automatic for the People, Monster. Oh, this is one so obscure I almost forgot it. Nirvana's In Utero.
never heard of it, you know? Who names a band Nirvana, dude? That's a concept, bro.
In Utero's a concept album. But, they didn't really click. And, they didn't really click with Lit. And, and basically this is a self-produced album.
It sounds pretty good for being self-produced, you know?
Yes, it does sound well produced.
What was your favorite track?
Quite liked Waiting.
I'll agree with that, yeah.
Waiting, quite like Minority as well.
I will also agree with that. Those are probably the standout songs for me.
I like Church on Sunday.
Nice.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird track. I like it. I like the first song too. Warning's a good song. This is pretty good. It's a pretty good record.
For
What do
me
you
it's
dislike?
mixed. I disliked a song or just overall the album.
Either way.
I didn't really dislike like a song, but a big problem I had with the album is that it lacked a lot of bite. And
Yeah.
that is probably a real big problem I had with it. Also, sometimes they did experimental weird tracks, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah, it didn't always work out.
it didn't always work, but when it worked, it was good. What would I give this out of 10? Probably a low 6.
I would say 5.
Yeah, I'd give it I'd give it a 5. A low 6 is basically a 5, so I'll just give it a 5.
It's basically 5, which is basically a 3.
Which is basically like a
Basically
0.
zero, yeah.
Yeah, it's abysmal.
terrible.
7.
s-
Giving it a 7.
Ooh, you like this album quite a bit.
I liked it the same as the 3 before.
We're actually going to be
I've
doing.
noticed a trend.
We're
But
actually going
now,
to be doing.
I'm not saying that in a negative way.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean?
I feel very much the same way about a lot of these albums.
Right.
We're actually going to be doing a little something different because usually we'd go straight to American Idiot, but there was actually an album that was supposed to be made here, and this is why we're doing the story thing. The album in question was called Cigarettes and Valentine, it was about to go through its final mix, and someone just up and stole it.
Someone
Stole all the demos, stole all the stuff.
Who does that?
It was
What did they do with it?
like
That's my question. In like the years since then, how has that never popped up again?
It did. They actually got it back in 2016, I believe.
Oh, and they just didn't release
And
it.
they're not going to release it. They have no plans of releasing it.
That's
But
not-
apparently, Too Much Too Soon was one on the deluxe edition of American Idiot. Too Much Too Soon was apparently one. They played the title track on their Awesome as Frick tour in 2011.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it is, but this is such an interesting phenomenon to me. Because who steals albums?
Who steals a whole album?
Why would
And
you
then
steal-
doesn't use it.
It doesn't ransom it.
Right.
But
You
why?
gotta be smart when you steal things, because if you steal something that valuable,
There should be an
you
in
ransom
game.
it.
There should be an in game, which has to do with monetary value
Like, why would you?
or taking over the world.
But-
if you're an evil villain. But either
American
way.
Idiot. This is gonna be a long freaking story.
Okay, go ahead.
Quite a famous album.
Quite a fan of this album, or not quite? A fan?
Quite a famous album.
Go. So after everything, losing an entire album,
That just sucks, man. I feel for him.
after the less than stellar reaction to their last album, and not to mention their infamous touring schedule, they set to make an album. And everything I've gathered so far, this album seems like it was absolute agony to make. Because not only did it take 10 months to complete, Rob Cavallo had to schedule Billy Joe's vocal sessions around his hangovers.
Which is the most punk rock thing, or just the most like rock thing I can think of.
That's very kind of him to like.
Punk rock would be like straight edge,
But
centered around his like
listen to
yoga
this.
session.
Listen to this though. This album took $650,000 to make.
For the return they got on it,
Pretty good.
Yeah, for the
Pretty
return
good.
they got on it, but they didn't know they were
That's-
going to get that return.
that is a lot.
That's a lot of
Right
freaking
on.
money. And this sounds like it's weird to say now, but Blink-182 and Sum 41, people were kind of getting scared that Green Day were going to get overtaken by those guys, which sounds weird now in hindsight, but
in retrospect, no, there's no way. Especially not after the release of this album.
plus, they were going to do a punk rock opera. That was almost like never heard of before.
It was a very unique concept, and it eventually got made into a Broadway musical, and what I read, an HBO special. They're making one.
Also, Billy also featured in a movie.
Which movie?
I don't remember what it's named a track on it's like on RevRad. It's named. There's like a track named after it. But basically, the movie reception was, but everyone said Billy was good at acting role. So, oh, it was called Ordinary World. But basically, then the title track dropped. It didn't even take the entire album. Took one track, and they were back.
Because it's American Idiot, dude.
Dude, and
That's
especially
the song that like defined that year. You know?
and dude,
Absolutely.
Billy actually got the idea for this track, and I find this interesting. Billy got the idea from this track for when he first listened to the Lynyrd Skynyrd song, "That's How I Like It."
Now, in defense of Skinner, that was a release.
That was like 30 years after Ronnie died.
That was a recent release that Billy had heard, not one of the classics. Go ahead.
A recent release.
Sorry, Bobby.
Oh yeah. Billy Joe. Billy Joe's funny. He said, "It was like, I'm proud to be a redneck," and I was like, "Oh my God, why would you be proud of that? This is exactly what I'm against."
He always speaks his mind.
Most of this album is talking about.
It's a concept album. I didn't know that initially. I just
Yes.
thought it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
a collection of
Right.
stuff, but no, there's like an overarching story.
Absolutely.
Critically, this album was really well handled. Rolling Stone named the title track to American Idiot the 13th best song of the 2000s. They also named it the 432nd greatest song ever, which is high praise.
A lot of songs, though.
That's
Oh,
a
there's
lot of freaking songs, dude. Like,
Because they incorporate Motown and everything. You know what I mean? They don't just go with...
the American Idiot album was placed 22 of their 100 greatest albums of the 2000s list. It was also, this sounds crazy, but it was placed number 225 on their 500 greatest albums of all time, which I am going to heavily disagree on. But I still like the album.
You know, I would not agree with that either.
But when you come down to it, this is one of the most divisive Green Day albums, period. Some people will tell you it's a 10 out of 10 classic. Others will tell you that it is garbage, and the singing is awful, and it's nasally, and it's whiny, and it's pretentious, and it's worse than Simple Plan, and it's just the worst thing ever. But that is not what we are saying.
No, I wouldn't agree with most of those.
Okay, so do we have...
Yes, we have positives.
Positives. The first handful of songs on the album are amazing. Everything from American Idiot to Jesus of Suburbia. Jesus of Suburbia is really long. It was kind of the first time I actually listened to it. It
was so long
it's
because
5 parts.
Yeah, because they cut it up into 5 parts and put it on the radio. Everything except for the I Don't Care part.
It's wild.
Which is like the best part of the song.
But then it goes into
what is it? Are the Waiting?
No, Holiday and then Boulevard of Broken Dreams as like a double song.
Yeah.
And the transition between those songs and just that whole package is phenomenal. I love it. That's like probably my favorite. I don't want to call it a track because it's technically 2 songs, but
a combination.
That was my favorite little segment of the album was Holiday into Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yeah. I quite liked almost every song on here. I think that every song worked in the context of the album. It's really hard because this album is like, the entire point of this album is that it's an exception to the rules. Right? It's that it shouldn't work, but it does.
Yeah.
And I just really like this album. And I think it's really good.
Favorite track?
Favorite track? Wake Me Up When September Ends.
Holiday, Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Just that, again, that little combo is probably my favorite little section on the album.
I get that, but I just love Wake Me Up When September Ends so much.
Least favorite?
Least favorite? We Are the Waiting. We Are the Waiting. I can't. That's my problem with it. It's just I can never like We Are Waiting. No, it's We Are the Waiting. And where do you?
Are We the Waiting?
Are We the Waiting?
/ Saint Jimmy.
/ Saint Jimmy. Quite like Saint Jimmy. But
yes.
It's just Are We the Waiting?
No, I can't really pick out any specific problems with the album, in terms of like specific songs.
Okay, some negatives about the album.
I don't particularly like the concept of the concept album. In all honesty, it just.
Yeah, that's kind of most people's problem with it. It's kind of, the story is kind of there.
It's okay.
And it's kind of like Billy, they kind of made it like a skeleton of a story like in the time because they thought it was a good idea. And they didn't want to work too hard on it because they already took 10 months on it.
I get that. For me, going into just like how politically charged the first handful of songs were on the album, I mean, American Idiot, obviously, Jesus of Suburbia, also obviously, and then Holiday, super. Absolutely. Not at all like that in the second half of the album. Yeah, it goes off and it starts being really politically charged, and I'm like, oh my god, something from the mid 2000s that's like politically charged.
Right.
I love that because you don't really see it as often.
Right.
But as the album went on, I was like, man, this is just about him and the girl. What's her name? That's not me forgetting the name. That's literally how she's referred to.
She's just referred to what's her name.
As what's her name. And it's like, I was just kind of disappointed and I wasn't thrilled with it. And the music's, I like the music on this album.
It's top heavy.
Yes, it's top heavy. I like the music on this album better than most other Green Day albums. For me, it just like sounds a bit better. I'm not sure exactly which facet of it, but I don't know. I'm kind of underwhelmed just on like the last half of the album.
You say this album's top heavy. The last part of the album has Give Me Novocaine, Letter Bomb, Wake Me Up When September Ends, and What's Her Name?
I don't like love any of those songs except for Wake Me Up When September Ends though.
Yeah, that's understandable.
For me personally, it's top heavy, and then
I did quite like Give Me Novocaine.
What are we rating this album?
I'll give it an 8.
7.
8.
8. Rough. I'll give it a roughly 8.
Okay.
Mostly because I like the music of the songs, but there are overarching problems.
21st Century Breakdown.
21st Century
All right,
Breakdown.
So here we go into the decline.
And just the yeah.
We're really getting into it this time.
This album isn't awful. It's
It's not great.
it's just openly American Idiot. It's just American Idiot
And
afterbirths to me.
I don't know.
It's like
I did not like this album very much. There's bright spots on it.
I quite liked the
21 Guns.
I liked the it's 21 Guns. Yeah, I quite liked the solo to Restless Heart Syndrome. It sounds like a guitar vomiting in the best way.
I like Know Your Enemy as well. I will point out Know Your Enemy and 21 Guns as my standout tracks.
Jared, this is where we disagree. That's my least favorite song on the album. It's
fair.
the same thing. It's
yeah.
where's the chorus? Where's the hook? Where are the verses?
You're right, but
You didn't.
I get it stuck in my head. That's like the only reason. Is just I keep thinking. Just
I like it too. I like it a lot.
Where's the chorus? Where are the verses?
So, what do you dislike about it? You just said that. I guess?
I dislike that it is just American Idiot Afterbirths at its core.
Okay.
I got really bored.
Do you want to
Yeah.
just jump to the ranking of it?
Ranking. I'll rank it a 5. Probably.
I'll honestly give it a 4. This was the part of the discography where I was like, man, I am really sick of listening to like just the exact same song formula over and over and over.
I'll give it a 7.
You like this?
I like
very
the
much.
album. Yeah, I don't jump off the ship just yet.
Okay,
Just yet.
Now, okay, let's get to that. Uno.
Uno. How do we want to handle this?
No, should we just handle it like trilogy as a whole?
Let's do it.
Yes, but we should talk about the differences between the albums.
Oh, I forgot to mention the story behind 21st Century Breakdown.
Oh,
because
go ahead.
Basically, they kicked Rob Cavallo for some reason. After, like, they literally, like, that guy literally saved them, like, twice. You know, it's just a me thing, but it should have worked because they got Butch freaking Vig. If you don't know him, he's worked on AFI's Sing the Sorrow, Against Me's White Cross and New Wave, Smashing Pumpkins' Gish and Siamese Dream, and a little indie classic, Nirvana's Nevermind.
They're really good at getting Nirvana producers now.
I mean, I'd probably get Nirvana's producers too.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
if I had enough money.
If I had the option and that was the style of music I wanted to do.
But now going into the trilogy, these were
Uno, Dos, and
hold
Tre.
on. The trilogy. Here's an interview that Billy Joe did. This is the best music we've ever written. The songs just keep coming. Instead of making one album, we're making a 3-album trilogy. Every song has the power and energy that represents Green Day on all emotional levels. We just can't help ourselves. We're gonna be epic.
When he said the songs keep coming, he was right, but not in the way that he perhaps intended it.
Okay, every album was supposed to be kind of inspired by different things. Uno was supposed to be inspired by power pop, basically AC/DC and Love Me Do era Beatles. The second one, Dos, was supposed to be an early 60s garage rock type of thing. And you know what's the most cringe-inducing part of this entire trilogy? Do you want to know what
the
Tre...
album covers?
Yes. But you want to know what Tre was supposed to be?
What's that?
Epic. Big. Orchestral. And it's just like, I did not get that at all.
That was a complete miss. They did not do a particularly good job with the others. And that
So
was a complete
we're gonna
miss.
lump these in together.
Dude, hold on.
Oh.
These albums sold awfully.
I wonder why.
Uno sold 100,039 on its first week. It had sold it barely cracked 1 million to this date. Dos sold 60,000 copies its first week. Tre sold 58,000 its first week. And you know, they were trying to wipe their hands of this so fast. Right?
Yeah.
Because they came out with an album 3 years later. And they were like doing stuff, you know, and they just realized, oh, we screwed up.
This triple album is 2 hours of absolutely excruciatingly boring stuff.
It's almost impressively mediocre.
Uno, I tapped out like halfway through Uno because I was like, if I have to hear the same song again, I'm gonna lose
I think
it.
the first time I attempted to listen to the trilogy, this was like 2 years ago. I tapped out at the first track of Dose. Second time, I actually got through the entire thing, barely. And I'm just gonna go memory there because when I tried again this time, I tapped out at the second track from Dose.
The second track from Dose is just embarrassing to listen to.
Oh, dude. Okay.
So what do you want to rate them?
0.
No. I'm not gonna rate it.
Are there high points?
There are very.
There are less bad points.
Okay.
Dose has like there are songs that are like.
They're sonically different, at least.
There are songs that are like okay, but basically what I'm trying to say here is, what was your favorite out of the entire trilogy?
I literally did not like a single song.
No, like what was your
My favorite to hate?
what was your least hated part of the trilogy? I will go Dose because the lows are so low that they're at least like an analyze. Like Nightlife is just like I can analyze how awful that is.
It's at least interesting to think about.
And I can
why
like
it didn't work.
I can like the second track is so bad, and I can analyze why it's so bad. I can analyze why it's one of the dumbest songs made about that topic. I can analyze why it's so stupid. But basically, these albums were not great. I am genuinely feeling a 1 out of 10.
All the way across the board?
All the way across the board.
All right, let's move on to the next record.
I would agree 100% actually. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Because at least it's still technically music.
All right.
And that's one thing it has behind it.
What's the next record?
The next record is...
Actually, the production wasn't terrible.
The production was not terrible. That's one thing. Also,
I'll leave it at that.
also, some people say that the demo collection they put out, Demolicious, some people say that was the trilogy if it was good. To me, it just sounds like the trilogy, but less well produced and less well mixed.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you on? But RevRad,
Revolution Radio.
Revolution Radio. While this is a huge step up from the trilogy,
It's not particularly interesting.
It's not great.
I feel like it was them attempting to return to form in during 2016. This came out in 2016 for reference, but during a politically charged time.
Yeah,
Like
I think
they
there
were
should have been way more politically charged movement. Since my favorite track is probably Bang Bang.
I would also agree with that.
But I think if they went a lot more political, this was 2016.
If they were gonna bust it out, they were gonna bust it out. Then.
They were either gonna bust it out. I'll rate it. Negatives, positives. It's not awful. Negatives. The lyrics are absolute garbage.
Yeah.
The lyrics are just just read them on Genius and you'll just cringe up into a little ball.
It's not good.
But speaking of should have been political that year, Father of All.
Oh my God, Father of All is
The most Imagine Dragon stuff. And I hate to end this on a negative point.
What did we rank that last one?
I'll rank that last one like a 3.
3?
Yeah.
I'll go 4. You know what? I'll go 5. That's fine. I'll go 5. Go
yeah,
ahead. Father of all. Let's talk. Let's get to the end of this.
Sweet
bad boy.
Lord, this was just critically panned. Not by most notably critically panned by YouTube reviewer Anthony Fantano, giving it a big fat goose egg. A 0.
strong 0.
A strong 0.
Which is coincidentally, flash forward, also I'm gonna give it like a 1.
I'll give it a 1. Give it
Music.
Was there a high point on here for you?
There was, I guess.
Dude, okay, and this is an issue.
I guess Sugar Youth is fine. I guess.
That's the most okay song on the album.
Okay, the worst song, Oh Yeah.
Now, you were going to say, you said this is an issue.
Well, actually, I was gonna bring that up when we talked about the negatives. Oh yeah, is definitely the worst song on the album, though.
We can get there. What's negative?
It's an issue I have with Uno and kind of Revolution Radio as well. It's just like Billy Armstrong still is trying to be a teenager in a lot of ways. There's a song called I Was a Teenage Teenager talking about him as a teenager, and it's like, dude, that was a long while ago. That period of your life has passed.
Right.
You are trying to recapture that energy that you had and like reach out to like today's teens the way you reached out to teens back in the
whose
late
problems
90s,
that
early
was?
2000s?
You know whose problem that was too? Rivers Cuomo.
I mean, it happens, and I get it when you have a demographic, and that demographic grows up, and they still like you and all that, but you still want to have a demographic to appeal to that wasn't just old fans.
Right.
You feel like maybe you can recapture that energy and just be like, I can describe what the teens are feeling. You can't. You're 50 years old.
Right. And that's true, right? And the music has to evolve.
It's something where it's just like if you incorporate more elements of you growing up, people find that interesting. There are many artists that have made that transition into screaming at being a teenager into just kind of contemplating their life as an adult, as a father, as a friend.
Or screaming at aspects that the world has thrust upon society or themselves or
There's
whatever.
so much to scream at, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is 2020. This was made in 2020.
Right.
2016 and 2020 was their last two albums, and it manages to completely miss the mark on anything interesting.
Right.
Dude,
Right.
especially this freaking year.
Well, you know how I said Dookie was a moment in time where an artist finds his voice at the same time the band does. The band doesn't lose it.
No.
They're just not interesting anymore because what's being said isn't...
It's not anything new. It's stuff that they've already tread. It's...
Right. We keep going over the same territory, and the point, I would assume, of being an artist is to evolve. And he has not done that incredibly well.
And he
at least in my opinion.
No.
You know, and he just
it's
needs
just
to grow up. And I don't have a problem with
We're
that.
going ones?
Ones, yeah.
Ones across the board.
Sadly. I hate to end this on a negative point. Hopefully they'll get themselves back on track.
I don't have particularly high hopes. Again, if you have the three albums I consider to be like great. Well, their best albums are American Idiot. It's a freaking classic. Nimrod, which is like more interesting than anything else they put out, like musically, and Dookie, which is just a classic.
I would have to.
That is a perfectly
Let's
fine discography.
Let's get into the rankings.
Okay. Starting at the bottom.
Starting at the bottom, I'd probably put the trilogy. Because at least Father of All had the decency to be short.
Again, the trilogy was like 2 hours long as a whole. Yes, I actually agree with that. And I do want to make a particular point that Uno is at the bottom for me. I hate that album.
Oh, dude.
What you got at 4?
Okay, we're going
4.
we're going at number 10. At number 10, I have put Father of All, because I get it had the decency to be short, but
I feel like I didn't dunk on that album enough.
I
tries
didn't.
to be like a mix of like stadium anthems and like clapping your hands along to the beat and like yelling.
Dude,
and it's like, dog, this is embarrassing.
Dude, I freaking hate the clapping thing.
Oh, it's
I've
awful.
always hated the clapping thing. Even like if we're gonna take it a little back, in our first review of Tyler the Creator, I said "Ain't Got Time" was a clapping thing, and I didn't like that because of the clap. And I've always hated clapping things, except for like maybe Linkin Park's "Given Up." But come on, dude, Chester does it like a 10-second scream in that one.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's like, you know, but I've always hated the clapping thing. I've never liked it. At number 9, I've put Smoothed Out Slappy. It's high up because I don't feel right putting it any lower or putting it any higher.
For me, in my list, that's kind of like the baseline of like transitioning from bad to like good. If that makes sense, it's like
you have it above these. You have it above the ones you consider bad.
Yeah, like it's just not very interesting.
Right.
I put 8 as Rev Rad, even though with all of its problems, it still sounds okay, and it's fine. At 7, I put 21st Century Breakdown. With it, as much as it sounded like I hated that album, I don't despise it. I just don't think that it is trying to capture what American Idiot did, and it's just not possible to do that. And some people really like that album. Maybe if you really like that album, just go for it.
For you.
Good for
Everyone
you.
has a variety of opinions.
At number 6, I put Warning. I said everything I've had to say. I think it's great. I think it's a good little album. But it's a mixed little album. But if I want to listen to it, I'll listen to it from time to time, maybe. Number 5, I put Kerplunk. Like the ferocity, liked everything but the production. But it's not really their fault.
Yeah.
At number 4, I put Insomniac. Like the ferocity, I do think that it takes a couple steps down from Dookie, just purely because of songwriting and bass work and all that stuff. But the point is that it's angry.
Yeah.
At number 3, I put American Idiot. I think it was a really good album, and I really like it. Personally, I freaking love American Idiot. But I get how I get it has some flaws that I can't really look away from, like the skeleton of a plot.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna flesh that out into like a whole. I don't know how they fleshed it out into a whole musical.
Yeah.
Oh, the songs are like 5 minutes, so that's probably.
That's a valid point.
At 2, I put Nimrod
Okay, yeah.
because and despite that one flaw, that it didn't finish on Time of Your Life. But that really, I always don't listen to the final track. I always finish on Time of Your Life. I liked its experimentalness. I liked all that. Number 1, Dookie. I freaking love Dookie. I freaking love everything
What
about
a phrase.
Dookie.
Yes. I love the Dookie.
I love everything about this album.
Dookie is great. I love Dookie. I love consuming Dookie. You sit down and you just like have fun. You just enjoy Dookie.
It's the best moment of the day.
Jared, what would you rank it?
Pretty much nearly identical to your list, in all honesty. The only things I put Rev Rad under Smooth Out Slappy Hours.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
But like Nimrod and Dookie, like your top 3 of American Idiot, Nimrod, and then Dookie, I agree with.
Okay, like in that order, or
in that order, yes,
Okay.
in the same order as you. So yeah, I pretty much agree with you.
okay, Dad, what would you rank it? Do you have a ranking?
I will probably switch up my ranking a little bit from. Okay, I would probably go Revolution Radio, Warning, Kerplunk, Insomniac, Nimrod, 21st, American Idiot, and Dookie being number 1. I wouldn't rank the other ones. So that is how I would go about it.
All right.
What are we doing now, my friend?
Are we doing battles?
I don't.
I don't think we. I
You
think
don't
Let's
have to.
do a battle
let's
apiece.
do a battle.
Let's do a battle apiece because I feel like this
Like
is
5
important.
battles total, or just one battle?
3.
per person? Okay.
3 battles total.
Do you have a battle?
Let's go.
You
bring
don't have
it.
a battle?
Not off
Yeah.
the top of
Okay.
my head.
2 battles total. Bring it.
I will give you King Crimson versus Rush.
Oof.
That's such a hard question. For me, I feel like King Crimson's Court of the Crimson King might be the best album from the 2, but I like a lot of Rush's albums.
So
All in
Rush.
favor of Rush, say aye.
I.
Aye.
Aye.
Rush have
We're
a
Rush fans here, fellas.
Rush have
Rush.
a discography.
Rush to Judgment.
Yes.
Rush.
That's
have
what we do.
I'd say Rush have a discography. King Crimson's really one album.
Yeah.
Okay, pick another battle, Ray.
Another battle. This one, there's actually a story behind this one. Fall Out Boy versus 30 Seconds to Mars. There's a story behind this one. The story is basically, both of these guys were pop punk bands back in when they started, and they basically in 2017, on the same year, they sold out and made an awful album.
It happens.
I mean, Fall Out Boy was kind of yearning to do that for a while. They made Centuries in like 2013. So, but like 2017, that was when it got just unbearable. I hated Mania so much. All for Fall Out Boy, say aye.
Aye.
All for 30 Seconds to Mars, say aye. You don't know 30 Seconds.
No,
The Kill?
I've maybe heard a couple songs by them, and I do not like Fall Out Boy.
Shout out to co-worker Brandon, who is a Fall Out Boy fan. Fanboy Mark, Fall Out Boy, and I've listened to their discography a lot at opening of work.
I like.
So I happen to
Okay, let's start
be
this
fresh
out.
on coffee and in a good mood when I've been listening to it
I like
at work.
the
So it's pretty
I
good.
like the first two albums by 30 Seconds to Mars, A Beautiful Lie and the self-titled. Mostly A Beautiful Lie. But Fall Out Boy have classics that
They got a couple of it
they have a couple of like their early discography. That's
that you can't get out of your head, and that can be a pro or con depending on how much you appreciate them.
under the pretty much from Take This to Your Grave to Fully Ado.
What's your new battle here, buddy?
My new battle.
Let's get a new battle
I
going.
I'm gonna do a third.
You're doing all the battles. What are you doing?
David Bowie versus Prince.
Oh my
Oof.
god, I literally was thinking about making one that was that.
Right. What did Justin say?
Justin, I actually forgot all of these. Justin said King Crimson because he can't stand Geddy Lee's voice.
Oof.
It is a common criticism of Rajshot. You know, that's perfectly valid.
Justin's a consultant on our wrestling podcast. Go ahead.
Yes.
What?
Justin said Prince because it's purely an aesthetic choice.
In other words, he likes both of them a great deal.
Yeah. All for Prince, say aye.
Aye.
All for David Bowie, say aye. Aye.
That's also an aesthetic choice for me. I love Prince's aesthetic. It's perfect. It did change through the years, but I don't know. David Bowie has so many iconic looks for me.
David Bowie has
just
like it's like one or two more truly great albums than Prince for me.
You're crazy, but go ahead.
It's like one or two more.
I am less familiar with Prince than I am with David Bowie. My friend's a David Bowie fan. I've listened to enough.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to 2 Prince albums.
Dude, Prince's last album, not Prince, David Bowie's last album was a freaking classic.
David Bowie's last album was, in my opinion, David Bowie's last album was his best album.
It is phenomenal. It is my favorite one that I've listened to.
And that I'm not knocking David Bowie because he's amazing.
It's probably in my top 5.
You know what I mean?
That album's right up my alley, too.
Dude, listen to this. The Man Who Sold the World, Hunky Dory, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Zane, Pin-Ups, Diamond Dogs, Young Americans, Low, Heroes, Lodger, in the same decade. That's so freaking much.
Pull up the Prince album list.
I'm not going to do all that.
And Prince did that too.
I don't have to do all that
until the 90s, and then he was just kind of flopping like a scared fish in the 90s. But
bro, don't sleep on what Prince did in the 90s. I'm not going to sit here and argue the merits of Prince.
Dude, Prince is
I'm not
awful.
going to do that.
Dude, Prince is just.
I'm just not going to do that.
Prince is the better musician of the two. I would 100%.
I'm joking when I say Prince is awful, but it's by a very small margin.
Don't ever say Prince's name around me again. Ever. All right.
You know who makes really good music though? Candlebox.
From now on, you just refer to him as the Sign and keep his name out of your mouth.
Pronounce the Sign.
Okay. If I refer to him as
another? Do you have another?
Michael Jackson.
Moving along. Do you have another one?
Just make more people angry. A Perfect Circle versus System of a Down. Justin chose A Perfect Circle because he just loves Maynard.
Perfect Circle.
Perfect Circle, say aye.
All for System of a Down, say aye. Aye.
System of a Down sucks.
Exactly.
If you're out there, Mike, remember that.
Remember it.
All right.
Wrap. We good?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
I'm good, brother.
Yeah. I don't. Thank you for listening to our Green Day thing. This is
Ray's Music
Reviews. Jared, Ray, KP.
Me?
Copyright 2020.
It's not go home. It is not stay home. Stay at home.
Listen to good music.
Listen to good music. That's not like Candlebox.
Yes.